Boom shakalaka, ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters around the world. It is your boy Chris Shule, aka the Esoteric Noetic, aka the Chocolate Nubian Soul Brother from Ghana, West Africa, dropping the wisdomatic truth bombs here in Melbourne, Australia. Yeah, now, mate, be sure to like the video, subscribe, click on the bell, tell your friends, say with me now, we are one and meh. Let's get it. Australia is returning to its convict roots. That definitely seems to be the sentiment in light of the recent events with Djokovic. And this post that I came across this morning, this is going to blow your mind, ladies and gentlemen. My right brain is taking a vacation now, and I'm going full Malcolm X, full logical left brain on this shit, because this stuff needs to be told without any of this ambivalent, I'm going to be nice to you, because what is going on right now is utter foobar. All right, ladies and gentlemen, you ready for it? Okay, there was a post made by Channel 9 this morning, I believe, asking whether or not there should be a health tax for the unjabbed, for the unjuiced. Now, that seems pretty innocuous, right? But we can see where this is leading. If I had brought this up a couple of years ago, that this was a possibility, many of you would have called me a conspiracy theorist. But this is where we are. We are actually thinking of making people that have decided not to allow their bodies to be used for an experimental gene therapy pay a tax, essentially have something stolen from them. And a lot of people look at this as innocuous. You know, a lot of people say it's the price you pay to live in a society. But fundamentally, you're making the argument of tyrants when you advocate for something like this. Yes, taxation is theft. If someone takes something away from you, your time, your effort, whether it is something belonging to your body or something that has come about from your labor, that is theft. And the idea of saying it's done in order to achieve great things, well, that doesn't fly in a moral sense. And more importantly, you're being forced to commit horrible things. Where do you think your tax dollars are going? They're actually supporting this entire system that has been used to oppress you, that has been used to fund these pharmaceutical companies. Therefore, what's worse is not only are these things that you're seeing going around evil, but the worst kind of evil is to coerce people to pay for the evil things that are being done. It's like when you watch these movies and you see these people that are about to be killed being forced to dig their graves. It's completely insane, right? Well, this is the kind of stuff that you support with this taxation system. And look, it would be a very different thing if we were living in a free society where people were voluntarily giving their tax, right? But that's not the society that we're living in. And the idea of forcing people to be taxed, right? Purely because they don't want to be jabbed, it is a violation of the most basic of our human rights. I mean, a lot of people have this idea that, oh, look, mate, you're an anti-vaxxer. It's different. If it was for a normal human being, right, someone that was considerate, compassionate, that had done the right thing, yeah, it would be wrong. But because we're dealing with anti-vaxxers, it's somehow unacceptable. This is the same kind of mentality that was used to justify the genocide that took place in the 1930s. It's them, not us. Or it's the blackies. Therefore, it's all right to restrict them of their freedoms. They're only 3/5 human. This is the psychology of how this stuff works. It's the other. It's okay for us to apply these disgusting restrictions on them, to advocate for violence, because, look, I'm not doing it. It's the government that's doing it. Wake the fuck up. This is absolutely diabolical and disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm sick to death of people pretending that this is somehow acceptable because we're dealing with anti-vaxxers here. There are no anti-vaxxers. I mean, let's get this straight. Fundamentally, we are dealing, based off of the definition that we're using now, you're dealing with people that are advocating for human rights, that are advocating for freedom, do not believe in coercion. Whereas you have a group of people that ultimately, through any lens of history, would be deemed of as being immoral, have decided to change the definition of the word evil and immoral and say, oh, look, mate, we're just being normal human beings. And those that are doing actual good things and standing up for their freedoms, they're anti-vaxxers. The people right now that think it's horrible to be an anti-vaxxer, they're people that fundamentally believe in coercion, believe in the government restricting your natural rights, believe in the denial of objective morals in the pursuit of goals and strategies. And granted, they'll say beautiful things like, oh, look, oh, we're doing it for the greater good. You're putting us at risk. But you well know that what you're doing is wrong. This is the same argument that the Nazis used. This is the same argument that the Americans used in order to justify slavery, that it's for the greater good. It's economically strangling the community if we do not have slaves. This is the kind of insanity that we are seeing loom forward in the 21st century. And I'm here to tell you, as the chocolate Nubian, that you are not only a Momo, but if you advocate for this kind of stuff, you belong in a jail cell. 100%, unequivocally, unassailably, definitively, you belong in a jail cell. This is not some innocuous thing. Oh, look, it's only tax. You just got to make him pay a bit more tax. No. Look, granted, I realize the way that Australia is right now. And look, Australia is a verb. It's changing. The Australia now is not the same it was before 2020. And it certainly wasn't the way it was back in the 50s and 60s. The Australians of the 50s and 60s would have rounded up the Australians of today and hanged them for the kind of stuff that they're advocating for. They truly have become a convict land. And look, we always give a hard time to the convicts weren't really that bad. I mean, there were people that had been deported from Britain, but they had been deported for petty crimes, victimless crimes. You know, a lot of the stupid kind of crimes, things that are called crimes that we are seeing now, like, oh, look, mate, we're deporting you because you have opposed the government, all right? But the kind of criminality that we are dealing with in Australia right now, this is real crime. This is governmentalist crime. This is the kind of crime that says, it's all right for me to do evil, but because I am God, because I am the state, it's okay. If any other person acted the way that the government is behaving right now, we would ubiquitously as society say they're fucked up. But we're allowing this stuff because, look, mate, it's the government. And we now have this moral system, this law system, where law rights are determined by the generosity of the state as opposed to being determined from individual rights, from the hand of God, from the concept of natural law, which is the basis of any sound, lawful, moral system. Ladies and gentlemen, you have a look at what is going on with Djokovic right now, and it is absolutely fucking insane. This guy, after being detained at the airport, even though he had a legitimate medical exemption, even though he had evidence to provide, goes to court. The judge rules that the guy hasn't done anything wrong. What else could he have done? And yet, Alex Hawke, the immigration minister, decides just recently that they're going to overrule the finding of the judge and they're going to detain him, or rather, destroy his visa. This guy's going to have to fly back to Serbia so he can't play in the Australian Open. And you want to hear the reason for this? This is the thing that blew my mind. This really lets you know where we are, where we are going. Not because of medical grounds, not because he is a health risk. I got this wrong before. I thought it was like they were saying, oh, it's related to health. But in the new definition of health, health can be anything that may lead to influencing other people to do things, to go against laws, right, that may affect the health of other people in the future. So essentially, you can use that to justify anything now. I mean, this is effectively what was said. So Alex Hawke gave the rationale that Djokovic risks lives and civil order by eroding regard for COVID rules and boom shakalaka restrictions. This is what the government is arguing at the moment, and this is the argument they are using to deport Djokovic. So, because him as an boom shakalaka person is going to inspire other people perhaps to think it's a good idea not to be boom shakalaka and not to follow these guidelines, these unlawful restrictions, by the way, which violate the Nuremberg Code, which violate the Declaration of Helsinki, which violate the most basic of laws, the common law, the human rights, the Universal Human Rights Charter. Because these laws have to be maintained here in the convict land, and because Djokovic may be inspiring other people to disregard these laws, we're going to suspend his visa. He may not be able to come back into this country from 3 years, from what I understand. This is the kind of insanity we're dealing with in Australia. And the worst thing is, a lot of the people actually think this stuff is a good idea. They say things like, oh, look, mate, we can't have any of these anti-vaxxers. I mean, it's just not a nice thing to do. And this stuff is, look, granted this stuff is not happening just in Australia. I mean, you have a look at what's going on in Canada right now, and they're imposing a health tax for the unjabbed. And it seems the Australian media may be following suit. And then we have countries like China, whereas they're still bolting the doors of people that are COVID positive and so forth. It's funny to think that the Australia that we knew would look at these countries and say, that's ridiculous. But the Australia we knew and the Australia now are two very different things. And nations are a verb. Nations are constantly changing. A lot of the times we do not learn from the mistakes of the history. And we are allowing ourselves to be swept under this evil, this Leviathan that is eroding the very concept of law, the very concept of natural justice, under the interests of the greater good, is taking away choice, freedom, which is supposed to be synonymous with a civil society, and bringing about this element of control. And so many of the momos out there think this is completely just, to the point where I'm actually living in a world right now where, if I'm being truly honest, speaking not only from my head, but from my heart, I do not like the Australians that we are seeing in the world right now. They're not real Australians, not by my definition. But this is where it's come to, where the society now seems to have this ethos. There's this egregore that has emerged where the consciousness of the collective mind, and I could be wrong about this, but this is definitely what the media is presenting, and to some extent it is true. A lot of Australians have this mindset. A lot of the world has this mindset that it is acceptable. And it's all been brought about through this psyop, essentially this mass psychosis where you influence people, you hypnotize them in order to think like this. But fundamentally, look, I'm not gonna put this on the rulers. I'm gonna put this on every individual that allows themselves to be influenced like this. They've drunken the Kool-Aid. If you allow yourself to be convinced to do horrible things, you're to blame. Stop blaming your leaders. Stop saying that you're under some kind of dream spell. You have to bring it back to you. This is what people do when they take ownership of their actions. And ladies and gentlemen, it is incumbent upon every single one of us right now to take ownership of what is going on. Because unless, of course, we do something about it, this is going to quickly become the most convict country in the entire universe. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, be sure to share this video if you enjoyed my rant. Be sure to tell your mom. Drop us some comments. I am going to be broadcasting now on Rumble. I recently made an account, so be sure to check that out. I'm not going to be using my main channel. As you probably guessed, I received a strike. That's why I've not been posting. And I don't want to be taking the chance of posting anything that is going to have me canceled. So I'm going to be sticking to Odyssey, Rumble, posting on my secondary account where I don't have as many followers and the risk is not as great. But be sure to be following me on all platforms. You can find us on chrisshul.com right here. If you want to keep up to date with my Wisdomatic Truth Bombs, if you want to check out my music, you can check us out on Spotify. Check out my dancing. The Chocolate Nubian is a man of many trades. So be sure to check us out. Until next time, Surya Namaskara, Namaste. Remember, there are three things that cannot remain hidden for long: the sun, the moon, and the truth. That more and more people are waking up every day. That the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends towards justice. Ladies and gentlemen, remember that we will win this in the end. It may not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but it will happen. As long as one person has the light in their soul, in their hearts, it shall illuminate the darkness. Until next time, Chris Jewell. Ow!
What is liberty?
What the? Who says you can't build muscle on a vegan diet?
What's it like being a hottie in the vegan community?
There are no political solutions, only technological ones.
The economics of the system don't allow multiple competing systems to survive.
Engineering, technology, these arts of humanity, they are magic.